My name's Sean. I'm an alcoholic. And what that means is once I start drinking, I can't stop. And when I stop, I start again without choosing to. Underlying all that, I feel like an alien. Like my baseline is I feel like I'm not human and everybody else is human. And I don't understand what it is to be normal or, feel okay unless I shoot meth and drink, basically is what I do. But drinking is like my primary, like I definitely identify with everything in the first 164 pages of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, so unless I drink or seek God, then I'm just gonna feel like an alien forever and suddenly drink because I'm powerless. And that suddenly word is kind of terrifying because I don't choose when it happens. I just always drink because I'm powerless. What my life was like is, I wake up. It's like that song, like wake up, drink, drink. I don't know the rest of the words, but basically everything drink. There's no such thing as triggers, I was told. So that's something that I hold on to today. And powerlessness, because I drink if I'm angry, and I drink if I'm happy, and I drink if I have a girlfriend, and I drink if my girlfriend leaves me, and I drink if I have a job, and I drink if I just got fired. And there's some stuff in the book. It talks about it a lot. I really like the big book a lot. And it talks about like how after a time I can't differentiate the true from the false. And I think that applies to me today if I think that I have the power over whether I drink or not. Today, my sobriety date is 10/26/2012. I have recovered from alcoholism today, as in like I don't have the obsession. I don't suffer from alcoholism right now. But I do when I wake up in the morning, I'm insane unless I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand it. So anyway, I was born in Juneau, Alaska, which is, I like to say, is the same as wherever you are internally. Everywhere is the same internally. It doesn't really matter where I go, where I live. I still experience that whole like apartness that I was talking about, no matter where I am, unless I'm in a position of seeking. And when I first started drinking until today, I'm a seeker of feeling okay, of comfort. And today I seek comfort hopefully through the power of like spirituality. I used to seek comfort by not fighting my overwhelming urge to drink all the time. And then when I started fighting my overwhelming urge to drink all the time, it was really fucking miserable. I'm sure all of you understand that because you're here, hopefully. But yeah, so the first time I drank, I was 16 years old. Well, the first time I drank, I was 14, but like I don't really know if that counts. My friend stole some communion wine, some wine. Maybe it was real wine. I don't know. They stole wine from somewhere. They came into my basement because like my house was the place. My parents don't really regulate. They're kind of just gone most of the time. And I just get to do whatever the fuck I want. I was that guy. You come over to my house. Like people made a door in my wall when I was like 12 years old to, the next room. And my parents didn't really care about that. That's just my house was like. My friends came over and they brought a bottle of wine and I drank it and they thought it was silly that I drank it. And then I went to a dinner party with my mom and I had a good time. And my friend didn't believe that I at the dinner party is at a family friend's house and I was friends with the kid because they were friends with my parents were friends. And he didn't believe that I was drunk. And I don't really know if I was or not. It was a long time ago. I was fucking 14 years old. I'm 36. I don't remember. The first time that I really remember getting like shit housed was when I was 16. And my friend Eamon stole a half gallon of Stolichnaya from his dad. And he found some expired dexedrine that he had not taken in a while in his ceiling. We took basically all of that and drank all the alcohol. There's some other people there, but they didn't drink like me and Eamon. Me and Eamon basically killed the whole bottle. And there's like some girls that took like a couple shots. And then we like smoked a bunch of weed. We went to this park. It was great. I had a great time. And for the first time ever, I felt okay. I've always been really good at like talking to people and seeming like I fit in, but I never felt like I fit in until that moment, sitting on the trampoline in someone else's yard with my friend Eamon, just like finally okay. And he was like crying. He was like, I'm never going to feel this good again. I don't, because he was experiencing the same thing, but his reaction to it was a little different than mine. And I was just like, why do you care about later? This is great right now. And then the next day I woke up and I was like fucking extremely hungover and coming down off of being on a bunch of kiddie speed. And then I very quickly dropped out of school, very quickly just basically started drinking as much as I could all the time. And I really liked being like super punk rock, being really different than everyone. I really liked the whole, I would go to the rest of the states down south. That's what we call, Alaskans call the rest of the United States. We call it all down south. So I'd go like Washington down south and like Oregon, down south, that's what we called it. And I would go down south and do crazy stuff and then come back and I'd feel like really good about it. I didn't really experience consequences, it was like fun and then fun with consequences and then just consequences, but like I kind of liked the consequences. They were like part of my image. I liked that I got to be homeless in Portland and played in bands. And I liked that I did a bunch of meth with crazy people in like train stations. I thought that was cool. I wanted to be a rock star. Thought that I was a rock star as a result of all of my family friends telling me that I was going to be a famous singer when I was a little kid. Don't do that to your children. It fucks them up. Don't tell them that they're going to be famous. From my experience, I wouldn't recommend it. I really like drinking. And like, I think I remember like being new in the program and like some weird disdain for like people that are still out there. And like, I don't really get that anymore. I understand it because I went through the phase, of like having like a year or two sober, judging everybody, but I get it. They're not choosing to feel like me. They're powerless. Pretty normal times. My story is kind of weird, but externally, like I did a lot of like crazy stuff. I was a 3-card Monte hustler all over the country. I hitchhiked across the country a couple times. I did a lot of stuff like that. I played in a lot of bands. So I guess what it was like was it was crazy, and then I realized at some point that I couldn't stop drinking, and then I tried several ways to stop, and I couldn't. I remember like one time I went to the middle of like nowhere out the road in Alaska to my friend's house to try to like dry out, and that didn't work. I just had people come out and bring me stuff. I thought I tried everything, but I didn't. I've been thinking recently about just suddenly, like how I could just suddenly drink. It's really easy with time to rest on my laurels and be like, I've done a lot of inventory and I've done a lot of amends, and like I don't have to do that anymore because I did it yesterday, but that's not true. I have to keep doing it today or I'm gonna die. And it's a lot in the rewards that I get from doing the program now with like more time. I don't get as much out of as the people that have like a year or under, because it's difficult to connect the powerlessness and like the fervor when you have like kind of a lot of time. So that's why it's good to come to meetings so I can like hear what it's like out there, because it just seems like this weird like disconnected story in my head. It's like not really like I know it happened, but like all the things that happened and I can talk about it, but like it's hard to remember how painful it was because my life is like really good today. So it's really important to nurture the gift of desperation. I say that a lot, and I hopefully try to do it. And the way that I do that today is I wake up and I remember the last time that I drank, and that suddenly thing that I'm talking about. And basically, I'll tell you the story of the last time that I drank. I had got 11 months sober. I just got out of treatment, and I made an OkCupid account, and I went to a Halloween party with some girls. And the whole way on the way to the party, I was just telling myself in my head, I'm not going to drink. 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 Because I didn't understand powerlessness, because if I'm telling myself that I'm not going to drink, I don't get it. That's pretty indicative of me thinking that I can control whether I drink or not, is telling myself I'm not going to drink. And so, I got to the party and there was alcohol there, and I drank the alcohol. And it was like from I'm not going to drink to just drinking. There was no gap between those two things. And I had been working the steps. I had a sponsor, but I didn't have a first step. And as a result, I didn't have a second step. And as a result, I didn't have a third step. And I really was just like writing inventory because I thought that if I did that, I would be like immune to having to drink, which is not how any of that works. And so I drank. The last thing I remember is giving this really hot petite girl in like a pleather Catwoman suit $300. And she was horrified. And I was like, give me as much whiskey as you can. And she was like 23 or something. I'm like 28 and I shouldn't be at this party. And they're just like, what? She's like, what are you doing? And then I blacked out. And then I woke up the next day in my house, and I went back to the treatment center that I went through. And that place was like fucking rough, dude. That place was, they had a reputation, not like Utah bad, but like pretty bad, like in between wherever Haven House is and like Utah bad. Like the therapy was like kind of hardcore and really broke you down. I was not excited to go back there, but I knew. I woke up and I'm like, wow, I'm fucked. I don't got this. It like really hit me deep in my heart. That like, I don't got this, and I'm gonna drink myself to death. I'm gonna die because there's nothing that I can do, which is terrifying. Like, I understand why I didn't want to have a first step and get that. Like, I understand like the defense mechanisms against that. Like, I don't want to give up There's got to be some way out of this, but there isn't. It's just I got to remember every day that like suddenly I could drink without choosing to. And like suddenly I could just be walking down the street and the thought could cross my mind that that homeless person could give me some meth if I asked him to. There's not going to be a pause to call my sponsor. I'm just going to ask the homeless man and give him money because that's what fucking addiction is. That's what alcoholism is. There's not like a play the tape through space. Either I'm working the steps and I'm immune to it or I'm going to die. And that's really it. My story is like I went to the treatment center next door to the one I got out of, and I went to the med room and I talked to the guy in the med room, and I'm really fucking grateful to this guy because, you know, there's a lot of like body brokering going on in these places and like trading people like commodities to the insurance companies. Like I know all about that. I grew up in sobriety in a place that was like had a lot of treatment centers, and I worked in them and I talked to the people that were doing the referral businesses and stuff like that. I know a lot of people that did that. And they could have made like another $80,000 off of me, and they didn't. The guy was like, I talked to the guy who owned the treatment center, and then I talked to the guy in the med room, and they both basically told me, they're like, Sean, you know what to do, just fucking do it. But you don't get to come back here. And so I got a different sponsor and I worked the steps, and I've been sober ever since then. And basically the obsession has been removed ever since maybe like 3 months after that. And how that happened is that I worked all the steps to the 10th step. And I continue to do that on a daily basis to the best of my ability. And like, you know, the best of my ability is like, I'm not a saint and I don't do it perfectly. And I forget to do it a lot. I work with a lot of sponsees. I have a lot of sponsees that have more time than me. And I'm not saying that as like a brag. I'm saying that as like, there are a lot of people that it seems like they go through once and then they stop doing it. And what I do is I try to do inventory and like meditation. Like I try to be in a position of seeking. I try to look at the steps and think about like, how could I do this better? How can I practice step 6 better? How can I become even more willing to have these things removed? How can I be even more humble in my asking of them to be removed? How can I make amends to this person and not cause harm? And a lot of the time now, I've realized that a lot of the time you don't make amends to them. It's selfish to make amends a lot of the time. It's selfish for me to be like, I want to feel better, so I'm going to tell you all these things that I used to do and think about you. Most of the time, you don't do anything, especially because I'm not supposed to make amends unless I'm actually going to amend my behavior. And if I can't promise that I'm going to be able to do that, I don't. I'm married to someone in the program who you guys know, you know, because she comes here. I can't be like, make amends for like yelling at my wife because I might yell at my wife again. I could start to try to change that behavior by going to like anger management and like meditate more. But I can't make amends about that because I don't know that it's not going to happen again. There's a couple things that I kind of always like to share from the podium because I think they're important. First is that the program is the steps. It says it in the book. It says, here's a list of suggestions which are suggested as a program of recovery. If you talk about working the program and you're just going to meetings, you're not working the program because that's not what the program is. The program is steps. So if you think that the program is not working and you're not doing the steps, then you're right, it's not working because you're not doing it. The other thing is like, you know, because I talk about powerlessness a lot and it's kind of cool. I really like to read the 10th step promises because they read the 9th step promises a lot in meetings. And a lot of the time forget to tell people that they're the 9th step promises. And when they say all that crazy, outrageous stuff about you're not going to regret the past, which sounds just like insane if you're like me, because I did like so much fucked up stuff. And then I got a conscience from doing the work. You know, because that's what 4, 5, 6, 7 does is it gives you conscience. It gave me a conscience. That's what it did. It's hard to accept that that's going to happen, but it does when you're halfway through the 9th step, not when you're halfway through the steps. You're halfway through your first round of amends. When you're halfway done with your amends, you should be experiencing that all the time. So that's like a barometer for me. If I like start regretting the past and wishing to shut the door on it or having like financial stress, it means that I owe people amends. That's what all the promises are for, in my opinion. It's like a checklist. Do I have this in my life? And I have like where they're written down in the book. There's not really promises for 6, 7, and 8 in the book, but there are some in the 12 and 12. And there are some just from experience. Like I said, empathy is definitely one of them for me. It says, so these are the 10-step promises. And when I came in, I was broken. And I really knew in my heart that I was going to drink myself to death and I was going to die. And I did not believe in God. I didn't understand how I could do any of this stuff. And basically, all I had to do was first realize that I concede to my innermost self that I'm fucked. And then realize that trying to manage my own life is insane. and then decide to do the 4th through 12 steps to the best of my ability on a daily basis. So I did that really, really quickly because I was fucking terrified. And I got to the 10th step in about 3 months. And then ever since I got to the 10th step and continued to do inventory to the best of my ability, like I've had, the obsession has been removed. It does not exist. So I'm going to read you the 10 step promises. So if you're new, like Betty, Joe, Edward, Nicole, and Matthew, welcome. Those are the newest people that are here. If you're new and you are experiencing that you can't stop, you don't know how to stay stopped, and like you don't know what to do, or like maybe you're in your period of grace and like you don't know when it's going to end, then find a sponsor, find someone that has done the steps and meet with them as much as you can. And then just try to get to the 10th step as fast as possible. That's what I do with the people that I work with. And anyway, so this is what you get if you get to the 10th step and you work all the steps on the way to it and you continue to do the inventory. So it says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. So without any thought or effort, I don't decide. I don't wake up. I don't wake up and make a decision not to drink. I don't ever have to make a decision. The problem has been removed. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it. Neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. So, if I'm starting to be cocky and afraid, then I need to do a better 10 step. The thing that I've been doing recently is that I've been doing a lot of inventory on the fellowship and a lot of practicing 6 and then 7. And 6 and 7 are kind of overlooked. I've talked about that a little bit. And basically how I do that is I do inventory. I identify the patterns that are fucking with my life. And then I just pay it for 6. I just pay attention to those things in the moment over the course of a week or 2. And I don't try to do anything about it. I just watch it ruin my life. And then in that way, I become entirely ready to have it removed. And then I pay attention to it. And when it comes up, I pray to have it removed if I'm entirely ready. And if I do that on a daily basis, I've found that it creates space between reaction and the action. The idea to judge people and be arrogant about how people in meetings aren't working the program and that separates me from everybody else, So I just want to say that all that stuff that might have sounded kind of judgy, but I've been really working on it and to hopefully try to help someone to not drink themselves to death. Primary purpose is very important to me. And I hope that everybody feels welcome here. Keep coming back and please, please work the steps with someone if you want to not drink. I love you guys all, and I'm probably a little bit over, so I'm going to pass.